Another part of that research was that we saw that uninsured patients visit the dentist less frequently and they accept far less treatment. So we see that patient visits increase, their case acceptance increases 50 to 75%, and then overall production and profits, they essentially double. So at its core, you're increasing patient loyalty to your practice, you're giving that patient peace of mind, and you're also increasing revenue for your practice.
Welcome to inPractice by Goetze Dental. We believe the best patient care is delivered in the private practice, so 100% of our energy and resources will continuously center on the products and services we offer to the privately held dental practice through integrity, education, innovation, and customer service. We stand united with the artists, the scientists, and the explorers of the dental community whose interest in providing exceptional patient care never fades.
Well, hello, and thank you for joining in this inPractice interview. Today, I have the privilege of visiting with Brad James. He's the Director of Partner Development for Kleer. Brad, welcome to the show.
Hey, Rob, thanks for having me on.
You bet. Well, let's kick things off with a little bit of your background and maybe dive in on the problem that Kleer set out to solve.
Yeah, so a little bit about myself. I'm based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I got started in business development in the recruitment and staffing space. And this is actually my first job within dentistry. So I got started at Kleer in May 2018, first on the sales side, and then I kind of grew into this strategic partnerships, business development role. So that's kind of quick high level who I am. When it comes to Kleer, we actually got started in 2018, and we conducted a lot of research behind the scenes before we officially launched our software. So in 2016, 2017, we were really just looking to identify what problems there were in the dental field. And the biggest aha moment that our CEO, Dave Monahan, saw was that over $90 billion is generated through dental care plans each year, and only 60% of that is going to patient care, which means that 40% is essentially waste. Now, we can speculate where that 40% is going with the insurance companies. It's profits, it's administrative fees, whatever it is. But ultimately, we saw that this is a bit wasteful and that we were looking to see if there's a way that we can potentially cut out the middleman and build a better relationship between patient and practice. A lot of dentists, and this is foreign to no one that's probably listening to this, but a lot of dentists, office managers are really fed up with insurance companies, especially with declining reimbursement rates and how dentists were treated throughout the pandemic. So we're seeing that a lot of practices are dropping PPOs, and I kind of digress a bit, but ultimately what we're looking to do is create a better relationship, something that's more profitable for dental practices, but something that's a bit more comprehensive and affordable for patients as well. And that's ultimately where membership plans come into play.
So walk me through the distinct differences between what is a membership plan versus what is a traditional PPO relationship, which all of our audience is obviously intimately familiar with PPO and insurance, but walk me through the distinctions and what's it look like to work with Kleer versus, I know some practices will build their own in-house membership plan, and why would they decide one over the other?
Yeah, so at its core level, a membership plan is, you can kind of think about it as like a subscription dental care plan. I mean, that is at its core what it is. So just to kind of map it out, the practices have full autonomy with creating the care plans, the treatment protocol, setting the pricing for the membership plans. And in addition to that, they are also going to have, they're also going to be able to offer this directly to their patients. So it's essentially a monthly or annual subscription. And what's included in that is the patient's hygiene care. So their preventive and diagnostic care. The average care plan typically includes routine x-rays, their exams, their prophies, whatever they need. The practice gets to create that completely. And somewhere it usually averages between $20 and $30 a month. They are offering this this care plan, this preventive care plan directly to their patients. And what's the best part is they also offer an additional discount for all other procedures as another perk for being a member at their practice. So through this relationship, there's no meddling middleman that is dictating the care plans, that's dictating reimbursements, pricing. The practice knows their patient base best. So it's an opportunity for them to personalize the care plans without giving away ridiculous amounts, ridiculous cuts with the total patient fees. So that's what it is. On the patient side, we've seen that this is enormous for especially uninsured patients, because a part of that research, in addition to the 40% that's lost to insurance companies due to care plans, another part of that research was that we saw that uninsured patients visit the dentist less frequently and they accept far less treatment. Now, through our case studies and focus groups that we conducted, we actually saw that the two biggest reasons why uninsured patients behave that way is because they are afraid of the cost with dental care plans, because there's a lot of lack of transparency in the field. And in addition to that, they feel that they're an outlier in the dental practice, because most uninsured patients think that majority of Americans have dental insurance. So they feel like they're an outlier. They think that it's going to cost them an arm and a leg. So they're just going to be reactive dental patients as opposed to proactive. So they just want to get in, get out, not spend a lot of money, get their cleanings if they even show up. Now, what we want to do with the membership plan is we want to create their tendencies to be a bit more proactive. So when they're paying on average between $20 and $30 out of pocket on a monthly basis for their membership plan, they're going to want to take advantage of those benefits that they're proactively paying out of pocket for. So we see that patient visits increase, their case acceptance increases 50 to 75%, and then overall production and profits, they essentially double. And that's really an important aspect to the membership plan, is the fact that profits double. Because if you just take a step back from dental and you just look at the economy, consumer economy in general throughout the United States, I mean, how many subscriptions are you a part of, Rob? It's like ridiculous nowadays. Everything is subscriptions and membership based. And it's because these business executives know exactly what they're doing, and they understand that the more subscribers, the more members they have on these offerings that they offer to their consumers, the more their practice value, or the more their business valuation increases. And in addition to that, it's this recurring revenue model. It's something that is a bit safer. So when we look at the economy, these businesses that offer the subscription services, those loyal consumers spend twice as much as the ones that are not. And we're seeing the same thing in dental, that these membership plan patients for these practices are spending twice as much as the other patients that still have no coverage. Mm-hmm. So at its core, you're increasing patient loyalty to your practice. You're giving that patient peace of mind, and you're also increasing revenue for your practice.
Yeah, the things that immediately came to mind for me was my Spotify membership and my Disney Plus subscription, and you run down the line. So I think the point there is ultimately that consumers are comfortable engaging with the providers that they value in that way. And so this creates an opportunity for a dental practice to do the same. The other piece that really resonates with me, and I think will also resonate with our private practice audience, is the deepening of that relationship, the removal of someone in the middle. I mean, how many times do practices get a denial on a claim that was perfectly viable treatment rendered for a patient, but the insurance company, because they're doing what insurance companies do, is denying and hoping that nobody's going to put up a fight. So this allows the practice then to, if I'm hearing you properly, they can diagnose and present the treatment that they know their patients need, and engage in a one-on-one relationship to navigate that financial piece without somebody in the middle to convolute that.
Yeah, absolutely. You're looking to remove the red tape, maximums, pre-approvals, denials, all of that waste that really infuriates and really frays the relationship between the doctor and the patient, when behind the scenes it's really the insurance companies that are pulling the strings and causing these difficulties.
Yeah.
So.
What are some mistakes that practices will sometimes stumble over as they're implementing a membership program?
Yeah, we've talked to. I mean, so we work with over 5,000 dentists in all 50 states, and I would say about a third of them had their own in-house plans. So when they're transitioning over from implementing this themselves to using a software like Kleer, there's all types of problems. I think the biggest problem is that a lot of the practices, they implement these plans, and I'm sure there's some that do a great job, but through my experience, I've seen a lot of practices don't have ways to really track the essential but basic KPIs and metrics of a membership plan and what makes it successful. Like how many members do they have enrolled on their plans? How much recurring revenue is that generating for them a year? And what do their renewal rates look like? The patients who are members, when it comes time to renew, what is that percentage? Because you definitely want that to be over 85% if you're just looking to implement the effectiveness of the membership plan and the recurring income that it brings to the practices. So I think the biggest problem is a lot of these in-house practices struggle with how are they actually measuring this success and what are the indicators. I think a second thing that some practices can incorrectly implement is the pricing, because I understand that there's usually a knee-jerk reaction when it comes to hearing discounting your patients and providing savings to even more patients, but it's really about the value, and I can touch on that a bit later. But when docs are implementing these membership plans, we've seen on the high end, they can price their plans too expensive. None of the patients really see the value. They don't understand that it doesn't look like they're saving that much, so why would they join? So since there's low adoption with the patients, the practice thinks it's a failure and they give up altogether. On the other end of the spectrum, we have practices that have tons of patients on their plans and it's going really well, but the pricing point is way too low, where it's almost like a discount plan at that point, and they're bleeding money and hemorrhaging cash through those patients coming through their door, not really understanding that maybe that patient's only paying $200 for the year for their membership plan, but that practice has no idea that majority of those members would be even willing to pay $280 a year for that membership plan. So that's something that we look to help our practices do as well. You need to really find that optimal pricing. What's going to be attractive for the patients to join, but what's going to be profitable for the business side of the dental practice as well. So pricing's number 2. And I think number 3 is just how many people are actually bought into the membership plan. And I'm talking about the office team. If it's just the dentist kind of slapping this on the office manager's desk, or even the office manager telling the team to do it without them fully understanding why it's a good deal for their patient, and why it's a good idea for the business, they need to have everyone on board, because through everyone being bought in, you're going to see the success come through. Because if everyone's not completely in the know, people are going to feel like they're having to sell their patients to join this plan. They're going to feel like they're losing money, that it could affect their commission. But if everyone knows, they really understand that this is better coverage for the patient, you're going to see the case acceptance increase. You're going to see that patient more frequently, and they're going to be more appreciative of the offering that you're giving them. So those are really the 3 big mistakes that we see with people that are doing it in-house.
So what's your process look like? Somebody's ready to raise their hand and start working with Kleer on a program. How do you help them structure, and what are the options to kind of address some of those mistakes with the pricing and so on?
Yeah, it's a great question. So our two largest teams at Kleer are our engineering team and our customer success team. So I think that just shows, and we have over 30 employees at Kleer. So and everyone's full time, and also based out of our Philadelphia office. So that right there on the engineering side, it shows that we're really invested in a great user-friendly experience for our customers, and for their patients. And then on the customer success side, we want our customers to feel like that this is a partnership. We're shoulder to shoulder with them. We can do as much hand holding as possible, and we want them to feel like there's a white glove service. Yeah. Our customer success team's broken into 3 subgroups. And what's important right now is, with your question, is our onboarding specialists. So that's really the first step. That's where we configure the care plans. We set the pricing. We figure out what the fee schedule is going to look like for the membership plan patients. And that's where we essentially launch those. And then the second step with our onboarding team is training. From there, the practices they're active as customers, they're completely launched, and patients can start joining their plans. And then once they reach a certain time period, or maybe they are accelerating pretty quickly as a customer, they then move into our growth sequence where we have customer success managers, so growth managers that will help strategize with them to make sure that they're growing their plans in a way that meets their expectations and goals that they set from day one. So the growth managers give them all the tips and tricks to sustain their growth, maximize their growth, and really accelerate their growth. And then lastly, we have our customer support team. And customer support not only deals with the front office teams through chat, email, or phone call, but they also interact with patients as well. So patient and front office communication for the support team. And that's basically how that process goes. Now, when it comes to actually configuring the plans, the practice is full autonomy. I mean, they know what's best for their patients, and we don't try to really meddle with that. But we will give them feedback on, say, the pricing side. Like, we'll just let them know, hey, you might want to bump this up about $5 a month, or they'll at least understand where the bar is set and they can price above or below that. That's completely their prerogative, but it's very much a symbiotic relationship instead of us telling the practice what to do and forcing them to do it. So that's how the process really works. If they want access to marketing materials, we have a marketing library on our portal. So they'll have access to that as well. And to just get ahead of all of those concerns, we got ahead of the pricing concern. Training the team is getting ahead of that. And also, we don't allow our prospects to move forward as customers until at least the office manager has seen the demo, in addition to the dentist. So we're very much into the team buy-in, and making sure that everyone feels educated and comfortable when having these conversations with patients.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned the value that Kleer brings, and I'd love for you to dive in a little bit more on some of those pieces and parts. But from my perspective, one of those elements is your pricing structure for a practice to get involved and engaged. I mean, it's you believe in your product so much, there's basically no barrier to entry to get started and explore how a practice might fit into this. So maybe you could share a little bit about how that's structured.
Yeah, absolutely. So when Dave, our CEO, when he was conducting a lot of research and just having conversations with dentists before we officially launched, he wanted to figure out what pricing structure they wanted more. Did they feel more comfortable with a standard monthly pricing or a pay-as-you-go? And it was pretty compelling, the amount of dentists that told us that they wanted a partnership model where they'll pay based upon their member enrollment. And quick feedback on what they basically told us was they've worked with a lot of marketing companies and software companies previously that promise new patients, that promise ROI. And after months or years of paying these fixed subscriptions to these vendors, nothing really changed. So the dentist basically told Dave, if there's any way that you can implement a model where we pay per patient, that would be great. So that is what we have rolled out. It's exactly what you said. No upfront investment, no standard monthly fee. We charge per patient per month, and it's not even a percentage, it's a flat fee. So whether your plan is $280 a year or $450 a year, it's going to be the same Kleer fees that we pull out. So the average is $4 per member per month.
That's great. I love that. Run me through some of the other value proposition. Where else do you feel like Kleer can have a real strong impact on the practice?
It's a great question. I mean, I think just building the relationship and building the value of the practice, because there's multiple reasons and drivers of why practices are implementing membership plans. A really hot topic right now is practices are dropping PPOs and they want a membership plan as a retention tool in place. Another reason is that there are a lot of retirees and baby boomers that are losing their dental benefits, and their whole mindset, their whole entire lives has been having a dental benefit. So they're going to want it. And when they lose it, based upon what we've seen, they're going to start looking for it, looking for dental benefits. And the last thing you want is for them to say, go on an individual insurance plan, because that's probably the worst of the bunch. Yeah. And then another reason why is practices want better coverage for their patients, and not just talking about their retirees. They just want better coverage in general, and they feel confident that they can even transition or have educated conversations with some patients to move away from their poor performing PPO onto Kleer. And that kind of couples with the previous two that I talked about, but it's more so the practices that see that this is more comprehensive care for their patients. Mm-hmm. And then I would say lastly, why practices are implementing these membership plans is because they want to make sure that they're really dictating that relationship and not that it's a third party that's taking over. Mm-hmm. And they also want that recurring revenue model in place. A lot of practices struggled during COVID, especially when their doors were closed. Yeah. When they have that passive income through monthly or annual subscriptions, that's something that they can hang their hat on, whether that patient comes in or not, whether they accept treatment or not, they know that they're getting that subscription revenue. And in addition to that, those are really some trends that we're seeing, but it seems that a lot of the practices early on, when we were in our nascent stages, a lot of the practices would implement these membership plans and kind of reserve it for a handful of patients. Like they wouldn't really do much with it. But now through the amount of data that we've been able to pull, and that we have a large enough sample size with over 5,000 dentists, we have been able to really show our practices the value of the membership plans and how they are doubling profits, like the numbers that we talked about earlier with increasing case acceptance, visits, and profits. So if there's any way as a business owner or just being a part of a business that you're telling me that I can double my profits, it's a no-brainer to at least inquire about it. Yeah. And it seems that there's really been a switch that's gone off in a lot of our customers' heads where they see the opportunity, and their membership plan growth really takes an exponential jump or leap. Mm-hmm. So that's basically what we're seeing on our end on why practices are doing it, the value that it's bringing to their practices.
Yeah. One of the things that resonates with me is just kind of the fierce independence that it helps instill in practice, and unbundling from some of the insurance companies and the implications that has. As an independent, privately owned dealer, that's a drum that we beat all day, every day, and we are staunch supporters of the private practice. And this, to me, represents an opportunity for them to thrive for all the reasons that you mentioned. The growth in case acceptance and production. Those are significant. You're presenting, as a clinician, you're presenting treatment because that's what a patient needs. And if this is a pathway by which we can make it easier for a patient to say yes, that's good for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's one more feature. It's a new product that we rolled out about 2 months ago. and it's called employee care.
Yeah.
So this is really, especially dental practices that are a bit more entrepreneurial, or maybe they're just a bit more forward thinking, is the idea that they can take the membership plans and they can extend that offer to local businesses. Now, we've been working on this since earlier this year, so it's been a big project and we're excited to have it out there. We have practices that are currently adding small businesses to their membership plans, and it's connecting the two. But the big opportunity that we saw before we started developing this product and really taking that jump was that small businesses, it is a huge opportunity within the dental benefits space, especially if they have between 5 and 50 headcount. Over 60% do not offer a dental benefit as a part of their employee compensation package. So what can the dental practice do to potentially capture some of these businesses and those new patients that they would bring through via their employees? And that's what we're looking to do. We are providing them with the tools, the marketing, the technology, and also the compliant processes to make sure that everything is in place. It's ready to go. If they want to run a 5-mile radius search around their practice, we can connect them with business owners and CEOs and give them their contact information, and hopefully allow those practices to get in touch with them and educate them on the membership plan and why it's a better dental benefit alternative to discount plans or PPOs. And the benefit for the small business is that we see there's two hangups on why so many small businesses don't offer the dental benefit. One, it's too expensive. The average dental benefit costs an employer over $500 for the year. The number is $507, and that's deductible and premium. So a lot of small businesses do not want to take on that expense. And what we've done is the employers can customize their contribution levels for their employees for the entire year. So if they want to contribute as no money, they technically can, and just give their employees access to the benefits, but they can contribute as little as $25 for the year or as high as $500 for the year, whatever they're comfortable with. We're giving them that freedom and removing that barrier. And the second thing that they'll be able to do is, usually with PPOs, there's minimum participation requirements for having to recruit your employees to join onto the dental membership, the dental benefit. With us, they can recruit one or all their employees. It doesn't matter. So we're making it more customizable. Once again, just like for the practice and patient side, how we're removing the red tape, we're looking to do the same for the employers and make it a better user experience for everyone involved.
Yeah. Have you, you're just a couple of months in on that product. Have you seen or been able to identify some best practices from practices that are trying to implement this and working with local small businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. So any practice that is in a high volume of foot traffic area, or maybe they're in a business center. I mean, it's as simple as just going to them, especially if they have the relationship already. They can certainly go out there, but I think the best way to start it off, have conversations with your current patients. There's tons of small business owners and employees out there, and I think a lot of dental practices would be surprised if they started talking to patients and really promoting their membership plan. They'll hear some small business owners or small business employees really, it'll capture their attention, because right now we see how much businesses in general, even outside of dentistry, are struggling to attract and retain talent. So they really want to make these employee packages and benefits more attractive. Yeah. So that will make them certainly more competitive and hopefully catch some eyes of some prospects for those employers, where they can include a dental benefit for that individual and potentially their family members as well, if they do have a family. So ask your current patients, go out to businesses that are in your shopping center or on your block. And we also, I kind of alluded to it, but we have a feature where you can run a radius search in your area and we can give the practices access to contacts at these small businesses. And that's for any businesses that have 50 or less employees.
Well, I love that with this product as well as your core product, you guys are really invested in supporting the practice to try to implement this well, and they win. You only win when they win, right? So it really is a true partnership, and that's there's a lot of value in that.
Yeah, definitely, and it's been really interesting just seeing the growth really take off. I mean, when we initially launched in January 2018. It was really interesting. We had to educate dentists on, first we had to sell them on the idea of a membership plan, because some people we've talked to practices, they're like, I've had a membership plan in place since the 1990s or early 2000s. I mean, what we're doing isn't completely new. We're just looking to streamline the entire process and make it scalable for the practice, and easy administrative, make it a lot more administratively easier for the front office team. So we had to sell them on the idea of membership plans in the beginning. And then we would basically have to pivot during the call and say, okay, here's why you want to use Kleer for this membership plan that we just sold you on the idea on. So, but through COVID, it's just really acted as a catalyst to completely skyrocket implementation. We saw that our busiest months ever, our busiest quarters were Q2, Q3 of 2020. And I think it gave dentists a real moment to just take a step back, look at their business, recalibrate, and figure out what's working and what isn't for their practices. How can they provide better coverage for their patients? How can they, what techniques can they really hone in on to separate themselves from other practices, their competitors? So it's been an interesting time, and the lagging statistic for us is always member enrollment, because it takes time for them to go through the sales process, for them to onboard, feel comfortable having the conversations, and then they kind of start to see the dominoes fall in place. So we started to see member enrollment really climb in that late Q3, Q4 of last year. And this year's been tremendous with the membership side as well. So it's been really interesting just seeing how COVID has caused this bit of change for these dentists to really step away from some of their poor performing PPOs, put in something in place that they can control that's more comprehensive, and they know their patients will love it. They know it'll increase revenue for their practice. It really is a no-brainer. So we've been seeing it all over. It's not just for metros and for suburbs. We've been seeing it in rural areas, all over the country. So it's been really, really interesting just monitoring the growth of membership plans and how adoption's really just skyrocketed.
Yeah, that's really fantastic. Is there anything else that we're missing? And if not, maybe now is the time we kind of dive in on how does somebody get started? What's the process look like to get in touch with somebody from your team?
What they'll essentially do is they'll get in touch with someone at Kleer on the sales side. We really want them to understand all the ins and outs and the offerings that we have within our platform. So that's very much the demo, and that's the demo. And we set that up for the office manager. And for the dentist, more team members can join if they want, and we can do that separately or together. So after the demo, if the practice decides that they would like to onboard and they review the agreement, which by the way, there's nothing contractually binding, or there's no financial penalties. As soon as they move through onboarding, there's those 2 calls where we configure their plans, and then they will train the team. They're officially up and running. And I guess what I have to say is there's a lot of variation between practices. Like if you don't add members within the first 2 weeks, don't be discouraged at all. We see some practices, it takes them a month to get going. And we see that once they add their first member, it really gives them that confidence and they can hit the ground running.
Yeah.
But that's how they can get started. They can feel free to reach out to my email. It's just brad@kleer.com. If they want to inquire a bit more, or maybe I can set up their appointment for them. Otherwise, they can visit our website. It's just Kleer, KLEER.com. and they can schedule a demo and go through that process pretty seamlessly and book those appointments pretty quickly if they don't want to get in touch with me. So that's how we can get that going. And we have some other exciting products. I mean, employee care is the big one that is kind of the shiny new objects for a lot of the practices, and they're excited for the potential with groups of new patients and building their brand within their respective market. But we have some other features that are kind of behind the scenes and in our pipeline that will be really helpful for practices understanding their business models and profitability as well. So I guess that's a bit of a teaser, but that's how they can get started with our current membership platform on the consumer side and with the employee care platform.
That's great. I was really excited to talk about the employee care program today. So we believe that the dental practice is a cornerstone of its community, and this product allows them to sort of further those roots, deepen those roots with their counterparts that are fellow business owners, and support the community, those employees and patients. It's a really fantastic product. So I'm excited for that.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't cost, employee care doesn't cost anything additional either. There's no, it just, if you're having employees sign up, it's very similar to the current model where we charge per patient, per employee. So there's really no risk. Check it out. If you think it's a fit, it's a fit. If it's not, it's not.
Yeah, no, that's great. Well, just a quick recap. I think what we've covered today is Kleer helps a practice provide better coverage for their patients. It increases the case acceptance, which means more patients are saying yes to the treatment that they need. It improves and creates a direct relationship with the patient, eliminating any kind of messy middleman, I think you called them earlier. And then on the back end, the benefits for the practice are, it's going to grow production as a result of that increased case acceptance. You've got some tracking and measurements. And then with the employee care product, you've got the ability to really connect with other fellow business owners and help support them with a employee retention tool, and that also extends then to support and grow your practice as well. So I'm really excited about the partnership that we have with Kleer and Goetze. So I will be sure and include all the links to everything that Brad mentioned in the show notes below. We'll also create a link at goetzedental.com/Kleer, so you can find it that way as well. Awesome, Brad. I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Any other parting thoughts?
No, thanks for having me on, Rob. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, man. My pleasure. Absolutely. All right, everybody. Thanks. We'll see you next time.